The Crow reboot, The Crow 2024, is not a very good movie. It's actually, oh, guys, it sucks. Okay, there it is, straight up. The Crow sucks. And here in this movie review, I'm going to explain to you why. It's rated R. It's an hour and 51 minutes. It's a long hour and 51 minutes. You guys know the Crow story. Eric and his wife or girlfriend gets killed, and he comes back for revenge by the Crow. It resurrects him to do to set the wrong things right. We know the premise of this movie, and if you watch the trailers for this, people were a little skeptical, right? Because the director said that we want to spend some time in the beginning learning the love story between Eric and Shelley. For some reason, he wanted to examine that. Remember, the first Crow movie took only 2 minutes to explain all of that to us. This movie wanted to take about 30 to 35 minutes alone to explain that to us. And about 20 minutes into this movie, guys, you're scratching your head. Wait a minute. This is supposed to be a Crow movie, right? We'll get to the Crow eventually, won't we? You start to feel like that. It's kind of like, I said this in my straight out of the theater reaction. It feels like a Crow movie, but it doesn't have the makeup or the great soundtrack from Trent Reznor that he assembled, that great soundtrack from all these other artists and stuff. It doesn't have that. It doesn't have the bad guys that like just chew up the scenery when they're on there, like Tintin. Come on. I'll close this door for you, master. Like that. Listen, you don't get any of that in this. If this was going to be a Crow movie, they should have just said, okay, it's not Eric Draven. This is just another person that comes back to get revenge. If it was that, would this still work? No, actually it wouldn't, because it's not even middle tier, guys. It's like the worst. It's like the Edward Furlong version of The Crow. And you're like, wait a minute, they spent how much money on this? Bill Skarsgård plays Eric Draven, and he's not the worst part in this. You could tell that he's really trying to do what the director wants him to do, and he's a good actor. You know he can transform into these different things because we've seen it with Pennywise. This is the guy who plays Pennywise, the clown. Crying out loud. Yes, he's got the chops, and he was actually much better in Boy Kills the World this year. He's got this ability to transform, but the whole aesthetic, like, this doesn't look very gothic. So I don't understand how this film was made in, who gave them money to this? Because the producers, if you heard this pitch where we say that, okay, we want to make a Crow reboot, but he's not going to have the Crow makeup. We're not going to have the music. He's not going to be gothic. It's kind of like, let's make a Superman movie where he doesn't fly or wears his costume. It's like, the producer says, oh, yeah, I'll give you the money for that. Hey, come here. I got some magic beans for you. It's only going to cost you $1 million. And trust me, you'll eat for the rest of your life. I got them. Like, it's that, like, what gullible executive listened to the pitch for this movie and said yes. And Hollywood's got to stop this. They really have to. They greenlight projects for things where one of the first things that they do is step on the fan base. Now, I'm not saying that this had to be a shot-for-shot remake of The Crow, the original, but when you watch the original, and okay, this is T-Bird, right? The actors in there, you can tell that they're giving it their all, because even like this is what I mean about the colorful bad guys, where it's like the bad guys transform, like he's talking here, like, yeah, I recognize you, but then look at him, see, look at that subtle look in his eyes where he's like, but you're not you. You can't be you. We killed you. For God's sakes. It's like, what are you doing with this movie, man? And it's like, well, you can't really compare it to the original, James. They're trying to do something new here. It's called The Crow. It has the characters Eric Draven and Shelley. Well, do you even hear her being called Shelley Webster in this? Uh, it's just so lackluster. It's style over substance, and this is that movie. If you're looking for something that's just like, okay, there's that opera scene that we see in the trailers, right, where he goes in and starts to lay waste, uh, and okay, you're like, okay, well, that looks like it could be a promising action sequence, but you don't know any of these people. They're just henchmen. They're bodyguards. Why is he killing them? It's like, oh, it's not well written. Um, Bad guy that has like supernatural powers in here. Like there's some interest. Like it's an interesting concept of what you were trying to introduce, but like the bad guys, Marion, Kronos, like I don't think they ever get called by their name. If they do, it's like very quick. Uh, like you didn't understand the property. You didn't understand the assignment. Uh, Rupert Sanders. I'm going to hear some people probably call out FKA Twigs here for her acting abilities. I'm going to be brutally honest here. At first, I thought that some of her lines seemed a little bit shaky, but throughout the film, she kind of won me over. Um, I kind of like, okay, look at the comparisons between these two. It's just this. It's like the first Crow is like on this whole other level, and this is like straight to streaming. This is like for Tubi, for crying out loud. So actress wise, FKA Twigs is a musician, right? So she sings and stuff like that. I'm not familiar with her work, but acting wise, like it's not as bad as the two musicians that appeared in Chappie. Like those ones were. Ugh, I don't know why. Yeah, I don't understand this fascination of turning people who are not actors into actors. Like they recently wanted to make like a Travis Kelce movie or something like that, and it just stop that, stop it. But she did okay, right? She was okay. Does that go against my argument? Uh, Maybe, but it's not good. Um, Guys, I would not waste your $15 on this to go see this movie. Wait for streaming. If you're a Crow fan, yeah, you may want to check it out. It's just a real shame. It's a real shame because the premise at like on paper, the premise like, okay, we want to spend more time learning about them falling in love. Okay, it seems like it would be okay, but then when you're watching it and you're like 20 minutes in and you're like, this is like Bonnie and Clyde or something. They're both addicts. Did you root for them really? Not so much. So you can see the direction as to where this is going. Let's go over to my score sheet and start to fill in some numbers here. Acting. I'm not going to. FKA Twigs was okay. Skarsgård, Skarsgård tries, but is it enough? Like Skarsgård really tries. Yeah, and okay, I'll give a full point to the acting because of Skarsgård and what he tries to do. Directing wise, you didn't understand the assignment, but some of the shots were competently set up. The sound mix is, I guess, okay. Point 0.5 is a stretch. Story wise, sucks. Uh, Story wise, you know, in the original Crow, where he would be running around and you would see like snapshots of the Crow's vision, right? And the Crow would be guiding him through all of this stuff. You don't get that at all in this version. It's just like, okay, he walks into a building. Oh, and there's a crow standing up there. Uh, is that what you guys really think is going to be winning over fans? Do you think that that's going to be enough to have people say, "Oh, check this movie out"? Something like it's just missing that big kind of appeal that like it doesn't. There's nothing like this in the newer version. Some people say, well, maybe the Fire Crow was kind of cheesy, but I thought it looked cool, man. Um, it's very comic booky. The aesthetic, having the crow land on him and stuff like that. You don't get any of that in this new movie. I'm really trying to restrain myself from just being like pulling my hair out here, uh, just because I'm really tired of them ruining these properties like RoboCop, The Crow. What else? Are you, Total Recall. Like, why? Why? Stop it. So, with the score, the soundtrack here, there's a few needle drops where, like, they try to bring in some music. Like, you remember in the trailers when they used the Ozzy Osbourne soundtrack? You're like, oh, okay, well, we're going to have a good soundtrack, right? That song's not in the movie. There's other songs that just, there's like maybe one needle drop in here that maybe works, but the rest, they go for this ethereal soundtrack where it's like what the heck? What? No. So this is the first time I think I'm ever going to do something like this, because usually I say the score is serviceable, but I'm going to give the score, or sorry, I'm going to give the score um, a 0. Cinematography sort of works, sort of, maybe. There's some interesting stuff in there. We're sitting at 2.5. That's not good, guys. That's oi. Let's go over to the tomato meter here, and this will really tell the truth as to what people are saying, because they held the review embargo for this like until like 7 p.m. last night. I'm just refreshing the page here, and we'll take a look. 19%. Oi. Now it's not quite as low as Borderlands. But I'll tell you this, I had more fun watching Borderlands, because this movie is an hour and 51 minutes. It's long and it's boring. The bad guy is boring. Um, Houston, Danny Houston, right? Like, Danny Houston's the kind of guy where he comes onto the screen and you are just curious to see what he's doing. You want to know what he's up to, right? Uh, and as the bad guy, I thought it was like, okay, he's going to be like our version of Top Dollar, but Danny Houston, he's got like this, he whispers into people's ears with some supernatural powers or something, and it's not really fully explained, and it's an interesting idea, but it's just like it's wasted opportunity. So yeah, for the soundtrack and score, the watchability factor, if you're a Crow fan, you will want to take a look at this just to see what's the fuss, right? How is this different? What was it a valiant attempt at something different? It was an attempt, but it wasn't a valiant one. This was like this is like taking the Obi-Wan series and saying, oh, we're going to make a series about Obi-Wan. Oh, the lead character is Obi-Wan. We'll wrap that up. No, we want to tell a story about Reva. What? What? Why? Why? William Bibiani says, when you stifle the emotional simplicity of the story like The Crow to emphasize the plot had better make sense. And it doesn't. It's got perplexing rules and a vague chronology and nothing seems to like it matters anymore. Yeah. Instead of a bold new vision, The Crow offers confusing and uninteresting sleepwalk through a disjointed dream of a comic book movie. Audience reviews. If he wanted to, he would was a movie. Zachary. Not as good as I thought it would be. Not too much of a backstory, but it was okay. Wouldn't waste my money to see it again. You gave it 3.5. That's very generous. That's very generous. Let's go through the critics and see if there's anybody who liked it. Skarsgård and FKA Twigs actually have great chemistry, and there are some big heart moments between the two in the story. It's a messy in pacing and villain department, but the final act goes super hard, and no, it really doesn't even really get all that bloody because it's kind of like that fake black blood that they use. I wouldn't even go that far, man. So that's I would say that critique is a little bit stretching. They're stretching to get that, but you can see that for the most part, most people don't like it. Somebody else who liked it. The Crow is an imperfect, perfect love story. No, perfect, with a sweet taste of revenge. Yeah, no, and it almost has the audacity at the end of the movie to say, wait a minute, did everything we just watched just happen in somebody's head? Is that what happened? Like, it's just like, no, no. I'm just trying to see if there's anybody else here that jumps off of the page at me here. I was looking for maybe a Donato, but I'm not seeing it. Not a good movie, guys. Watchability factor should be a 0. Watchability factor should definitely be a 0. This is going to be like one of my lowest scores of the year. And I've seen a lot of movies, guys, that people would call bad. Like, well, we just talked about Borderlands, but I would watch Borderlands and this in a heartbeat over this for sure. Hey, you got Kate Blanchett with fire wings. Yeah, guys, how does it compare to The Other Crow? The Other Crow had 86% by critics, 90 by the audience. It's a cult classic, and it may annoy you that you're going to get compared to the original, but when you look at a movie like this that people liked, was well received, critics liked it, what part of that makes you say, let's remake it? And try to transform it into something that's completely, almost practically unrecognizable from the source material. You've got to stop stepping on the fan base that made it popular in the first place and say, no, I want to do something new. This is my story. I get to do whatever I want to do. Well, guess what? You're fired and you're done. I don't want to see any other projects from Rupert Sanders ever again. In fact, my life would be complete if we never hear from Rupert Sanders ever again. Now, let's wrap up my score sheet. Watchability factor, guys, I am going to give a point to, because if you are a fan of that original property, out of sheer morbid curiosity, you will want to see what they did. But expect something on par with that Edward Furlong version. City of Angels is even more entertaining than this, guys, because at least City of Angels got that gothic style correct. They got that tone of the first one. It's a complete 3 out of 10 is where I'm staying for the Crow reboot. And no matter what type of articles come out, Rupert Sanders clears up misconception about his film's ending. I don't care. I don't need some enlightenment as to what you were trying to do there. Remember what I was saying about did it all happen in the head? Was that it? No, I'm surprised that you gave him this much time to even have an interview, Hollywood Reporter. I'd be like, here's a quick quote. Now, yeah, hey, I hear there's an opening at McDonald's for an assistant manager, Rupert Sanders. How about you go do that for the rest of your life? Because making movies doesn't seem to be your calling. FKA Twigs, working on the Crow reboot, helped FKA Twigs embrace the inner darkness again. Her inner darkness. See, I don't know anything about her music, so maybe that's what they're trying to appeal to. So, guys, I think I've been able to spit out everything I want to say about the Crow, but we can't go without watching Skank.
It's not fair. Some boy's fault. That boy was out of control. T-Bird, he came in here, weighs them both, and now this goat gonna kill my ass next.
Come on. Like he was just a smaller background bad guy villain type character, and that's the kind of effort that was put into this movie, in the first Crow movie. And I can't tell you who any of the other characters are, the other villains are.
Fire it up!
Fire it up! Fire! Yeah. For God's sake, yeah. Go watch the original Crow. This doesn't deserve your time. And it, yeah, that's done. 3 out of 10. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. We got some live comments here from Hourglass Vikings. The Crow wasn't named The Crow would be a great revenge movie. It wouldn't though, because there's some nonsensical things about the bad guy that just don't add up. Hourglass Vikings, I was tearing up with just the clip you showed of The Crow. The original deserves to be re-released. I think it was, wasn't it? And, oh yeah, and the whole thing on Devil's Night is not a thing. It's not a thing in this version. But yeah, that turn there, like the actor who played T-Bird, you don't get that. Like, why not, guys? Why not have like other good actors come in to be the villains to add in some color, some depth? You don't get an Ernie Hudson character in this. You don't get that small girl narrating the story or anything like that. It's just him and Shelley. Who am I thinking of? T-Bird. Tintin is Lawrence Mason. T-Bird, David Patrick Kelly. Yeah, phenomenal actor. Very underrated. Remember, he's like you'd recognize him from a lot of things. Yeah, bummer thing. Tony Todd is in the original Me. Come on, man. They had even Candyman, Timu/Wish version of The Crow, maybe. Yeah. Hmm. It's a damn shame. But guys, you know what? As they always say, you know what? And as Hourglass echoed there, we still got the original. Go watch that one. That's The Crow, and that'll always be The Crow. For me, it will always be. So waste your money, Hollywood. Please don't. No, I don't want you to waste money, Hollywood, because I want you to make good movies. I want to go to the theater and have good experiences. This was not good. This was like pulling teeth watching The Crow. Like I stood up in the last act, and I just, because it was only me and 2 other guys in the theater, I just stood there because I was falling asleep. I was, I wanted to walk out. And somebody commented on my short video that they did, because it's that caliber of a film. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below, and we will talk about it. What's coming out this week as well? Blink Twice, with Channing Tatum playing an eccentric billionaire. Owns an island, invites people to the party, and does he drug them? Does he turn them into weird farm animals? Yeah, it's kind of a weird film. Check out my review for that. That's up on the channel right now as well. And if you like talking movies, come join us here on the channel Mirror Domains. Until then, I'll see you next time. Yeah, it's a complete disappointment. I've seen my share of bad movies this year. Borderlands, it's not as bad as this one. Rebel Moon, guys, I would watch Rebel Moon